In a world that's basically all digital doors and windows, how can you really know who or what is trying to sneak in? Well, that's exactly why we're going to talk about one of the most trusted digital guardians out there, a tool called Snort. So let me just ask you this straight up. I mean, you've got firewalls, you've got passwords, right? But with cyber threats getting sneakier and honestly smarter every single day, is your network really safe? Let's be honest, for most of us, the answer is probably no. See, you can think of your traditional defenses kind of like a big castle wall. It's awesome against a frontal attack, for sure, but it's not going to do much against a clever spy who can just pick the lock. And that's the kind of dynamic, sneaky attack we're up against today. Okay, so let's get into it. Before we can really appreciate the solution, we gotta understand the problem, the modern threat landscape. Welcome to what I like to call the digital battleground. Just imagine your network is this huge building, right? And it has hundreds, maybe thousands of doors. Now picture this. All day, every single day, you've got these automated bots and hackers just rattling every single doorknob, just checking constantly to see if one is unlocked. This relentless probing for any weakness, well, that's exactly why just having locks on the doors isn't enough. You need someone actively watching. And that right there brings us to the solution. I mean, what if you could have a super trained, super vigilant watchdog patrolling your network 24/7? Well, good news, you can. Let's meet Snort. Now, Snort is seriously one of the most famous and widely used tools in all of cybersecurity. It's an open source intrusion detection system, or IDS for short, and it's actually been around since 1998. And its job, well, it sounds simple. Just watch all the network traffic and spot the trouble. Okay, that term, intrusion detection system, is really, really important here. Let's break it down. An IDS isn't like a firewall. It doesn't usually block traffic. Nope. Its main job is to monitor everything happening on the network, spot anything suspicious based on a set of rules, and then, sound the alarm loudly. So here's the best way to think about it. If your firewall is the lock on your front door, Snort is the security guard sitting in the lobby. They're the one checking every single ID, watching all the security cameras, and they know exactly who's coming and going all the time. Right. So how does this digital security guard actually do its job? How does it tell the difference between a friendly visitor and a potential bad guy? Let's take a look under the hood at how Snort sees threats. It really all boils down to this pretty elegant four-step process. First, Snort captures data packets as they fly by. Then it decodes them to see what's actually inside. After that, it runs all that data through its detection engine. And finally, if anything looks fishy and matches a known threat, boom, it logs it and sends out an alert. And this really gets to the heart of how it works. Every single piece of data, we call them packets, that flows through your network gets grabbed and metaphorically opened up. Snort then peeks inside and compares what it finds to this massive rulebook. If the stuff inside the packet matches a rule for something bad, well, the alarm bells start ringing. Now, that rulebook we just mentioned, that's not just a small detail, it is the brain of the whole operation. It's what gives Snort all its power. So it's definitely time we take a closer look at this so-called Snort rulebook. Okay, I know. At first glance, this looks super intimidating, right? Like some line of code you'd see in a hacker movie. But trust me, this single line is a complete, clear instruction for our digital security guard. And don't worry, we're gonna break it down into plain English right now. See? Here's how that line of code translates into a really simple command. Each part is just one piece of the puzzle. The action tells Snort what to do. Hey, send an alert. The protocol tells it what to watch. In this case, TCP, which is basically the language most of the internet speaks. Source and destination just tell it where the traffic is coming from and where it's going. And content? Well, that's the smoking gun. That's what to look for inside the data. So you see, it's not just a bunch of random code. It's a super specific instruction. All right, so that's the theory. That's how it's supposed to work. But what about in the real world? What kind of actual threats does this whole process catch? Let's dive into some practical applications. Okay, so when you have a well-written rulebook, Snort is just incredibly effective. It can spot things like port scans. That's basically an attacker rattling every single one of your digital doorknobs to find an unlocked one. It can also identify the unique signatures of known malware that's trying to phone home to its command center. And it's great at spotting brute force attacks, those relentless automated bots just trying to guess your passwords over and over again. And make no mistake, this isn't just some tool for hobbyists tinkering in their basement. Snort is a serious professional-grade guardian. It's most often deployed in two major, super high-stakes environments.
First up, you'll find it in massive enterprise networks, protecting huge amounts of corporate data. And second, you'll see it in security operations centers, or SOCs. Think of these as the mission control rooms for cybersecurity. This is where teams of analysts are staring at screens, and they use Snort's alerts as the very first clue to start investigating and responding to potentially huge security breaches.
But like with any powerful tool, it's not a magic bullet. It's not perfect. So to really get the full picture, we have to talk about its strengths, but also its challenges. It is, after all, a powerful but imperfect guardian. So on the plus side, its strengths are huge. It's open source, which is amazing, it's super versatile, and it's driven by a massive community. But on the other side of the coin, it can generate what we call false positives. Basically, it sounds the alarm for things that aren't actually threats. This can lead to something called alert fatigue, where the real attacks get buried in all the noise. And managing all those rules, it's a constant balancing act. They have to be specific enough to catch the bad guys, but not so broad that they're flagging normal everyday traffic. So here's the bottom line. Snort is absolutely not a set-it-and-forget-it kind of tool. Think of it more like a high-performance instrument. It needs a skilled musician to play it well. Its success really depends entirely on someone continuously fine-tuning it and feeding it the latest threat intelligence so it knows what to look for. And that really leaves us with one final big thought. Snort is an absolutely amazing rule-based watchdog, no question. But as cyber attacks get smarter, as they start using AI and constantly changing how they look, it brings up a really critical question for the future of all of this. In a world where attackers are constantly evolving, is a static rulebook, no matter how good it is, ever really